My name is Lanai, and I'm an 18-year-old from New Jersey that is currently living in Ohio. And this experience happened to me a few months ago at my brother's house. My brother Ivan had just moved into this house with his wife and his 10-year-old child. It was my first ever time visiting, since I was working all the time and we was barely home. Anyway, I arrived at my brother's house and got out of my car. As soon as I pulled into the driveway of the place, I started getting an uneasy feeling. The house was a blue 3-story house that was surrounded by 2 other houses, and while I grabbed my purse, I glanced up at the window. I froze. Because staring back at me from the 2nd floor window was this older man wearing a flannel. His hair was long and was messy, but he was gone within seconds. I brushed this off, figuring maybe Ivan and our other brother Ian was screwing with me. But both Ivan and Ian came out to 1st floor and gave me a hug. I was a bit freaked out over this, but I sucked it up and walked inside with them. Upstairs on the 2nd floor was where my niece Iris and my nephew sleep, and my brother and his wife slept on the 3rd floor. Of course, Iris was excited to see me and wanted me to see her room. So she took me by my hand and ran me upstairs to her room. All I can say, this place was creepy, and it smelled like a rotting corpse of something. The room was cold, and it felt as if time stopped altogether. I suddenly snapped out of this trance I was in, and Iris was showing me her collection of items she got from our grandmother in Korea when we all went together. Iris was paying no attention to me at all, but she kept talking and then said, "Hey, Auntie, I'll be right back. Stay here, okay?" I agreed, and she left the room. I went over to one of the walls nearest to the window to where I saw the man earlier. On the wall, I noticed something was there. I took a few steps closer, and I saw the name Max carved into the wall. It, strangely enough, was also in what looked like blood or something. I got chills down my spine, and just as this was happening, I heard what sounded like a man say, "You'll never leave, Lanai." And then I was spun around by nothing. There was nobody there. I was alone, and something had what felt like a hand around my neck, choking me. The smell got even worse. It got colder, and suddenly I could no longer breathe. After about another 5 seconds of being choked, I was thrown up against the wall and slammed to the floor. I was crying, and I jumped up, really not giving a shit about what attacked me, but I practically mowed Iris over as I sprinted down the stairs, ran past my very confused brothers. I was shouting as I dashed for my keys and pretty much dived myself into my car. I started it up and looked one more time at the window, and a pair of yellow eyes with the most fucked up Joker-looking smile stared at me. I threw my '67 Chevy into reverse and never looked back. Now, after a few months, I live by myself in a house in Dayton. I think he followed me, because now I see, hear, and sense things. Stuff in my house gets thrown at me and breaks. I can still smell that rotting corpse smell to this every day.